For weeks, a quiet man named Harold had been a regular at the neighborhood diner. He sat in his usual booth, observing a cruel game unfold right before his eyes. The waitress, Denise, carried herself with grace, but every smile seemed carved out of pure pain, and the manager, Ross, appeared to be the source of it all. What Harold was about to do would not only save her, but also uncover a deeper, more sinister truth that had been hiding in plain sight. Harold had owned businesses long enough to spot bias and cruelty from a mile away. He saw the way Ross strutted past Denise, laughing at something on his phone, then mocked her when she asked for help. "Use both hands," he'd sneer. "Oh, wait, you can't." His chuckle was like nails on a chalkboard. Harold felt his own blood simmer. He noticed the way Denise carefully avoided Ross, like a person who had learned that getting too close meant danger. Something wasn't adding up. Later that afternoon, after the lunch rush had thinned, Harold quietly asked to speak with the manager. Ross swaggered over, a smirk on his face, expecting a complaint about cold coffee or burnt food. "Just wondering about that waitress. She's injured. Why is she working the floor?" Ross's grin faltered for a split second before returning full force. "Oh, her? She's clumsy, always messing up. She begged to stay on the shift, so I let her. I'm generous like that." Harold nodded slowly, but every word tasted like a lie. He had seen the way Ross sneered, the way customers whispered, the way Denise pushed through pain just to keep her dignity. That night, long after the diner had emptied, Harold sat alone in his booth. His coffee had gone cold and untouched. He watched Denise clean tables with her good hand, her eyes heavy with fatigue, yet still offering a faint smile to the last few stragglers. If Ross claimed Denise was the problem, Harold decided, he was going to find out for himself. And if what he suspected was true, someone in this diner was about to regret underestimating both her and him. The next morning, Harold returned to his usual booth. To everyone else, he looked like the same old veteran with nowhere better to be. But his eyes weren't on the menu. They were on Ross. He watched as Ross stalked Denise, pouncing on every move she made. A coffee poured too slowly, a counter wiped twice instead of once. Each minor mistake was met with a dramatic smirk and a muttered complaint about wasting time. Harold's suspicion turned into a cold, hard certainty. Ross wasn't just cruel, he was setting her up. That afternoon, under the pretense of looking for the restroom, Harold slipped into the back office. The door was unlocked, and his eyes landed on a stack of papers. Page after page, he saw Denise's name at the top of misconduct forms, accusing her of petty things like spilled drinks and forgotten orders. But Harold had eaten there for months. He'd never once seen her act out of line. He flipped further and found something even more shocking: cash register tallies that didn't add up. Every week, the numbers dipped, but no reports had been filed. His stomach sank. Ross wasn't just cruel, he was a thief. Harold stayed later than usual that night, sipping his cold coffee while the diner emptied. As the last customers left, he heard Ross retreat into the office. The door didn't close all the way, and voices drifted out. "Another $5,000 easy," Ross laughed, his laughter spilling into the hallway. "And when they notice the cash missing, that little waitress takes the fall. She's already got the most write-ups. Nobody's going to believe her over me." Harold's fists curled tight. Then a second voice, one of Ross's drinking buddies, snorted, "What if she talks?" Ross's voice dropped, cold and lethal. "She won't. Not with that hand. I broke it good enough to remind her who's in charge." Harold froze in the shadows, his breath caught in his chest. This wasn't just theft. It was abuse, deliberate and brutal. He thought of Denise smiling through her pain, and something inside him twisted. The conversation inside ended with drunken laughter. Harold slipped out the side door, the cool night air cut across his face. For the first time in years, his military instincts stirred. He'd seen injustice in the world, but to find it rotting in his own business, he wouldn't let it stand. The truth was out, and tomorrow the mask would come off. The morning rush returned like clockwork. Denise moved between tables, her wrapped hand stiff against her apron. To most, she was just another tired worker pushing through the pain. But to Harold, she looked like someone carrying a weight far heavier than dishes. Today wasn't going to be just another day. Harold entered quietly, his shoulders squared differently. He wasn't a customer. He was the owner.
He walked to the middle of the diner and gently tapped his spoon against his coffee cup. The soft metallic ring drew curious looks from every booth. Conversations quieted. Forks paused. Denise froze mid-step, her eyes darting toward him. "Morning, everyone," Harold began, his voice calm but firm. "I think it's time you all know who I really am." Ross chuckled nervously. "What, you're writing a book or something?" Harold's gaze locked on him. "No, I own this diner." The room went dead silent. Denise's eyes widened, her lips parting in shock. For years, nobody had known the old man in the corner booth was the one signing their paychecks. Harold pulled a folder from under his jacket and placed it on the counter, pages spilling out. "I've watched long enough, Ross. Every false report you filed against Denise, every dollar you skimmed from the register, and I know what you did to her hand." Gasps rippled through the diner. Customers turned in their seats. Ross stammered, his voice cracking, "This is ridiculous. You can't prove—" Before he could finish, 2 uniformed officers walked through the door. Harold had called them that morning. Their presence alone silenced the room. Ross's bravado shattered. "Wait, you can't—" But the cuffs snapped around his wrists before he could finish. The diner erupted in murmurs as Ross was led out, his protests drowned by the clink of chains. Denise stood frozen, her good hand pressed against her chest. For once, Ross wasn't looming over her. For once, the weight of blame had shifted. Harold turned to her, his voice soft now. "You've carried this place on your back. While others lied about you, you kept it running. From today forward, you're not just a waitress. You're the new floor supervisor." Denise blinked, tears pooling in her eyes. The bandage on her hand trembled as she pressed it against her lips. A muffled sob escaped. Customers clapped, some quietly, some loudly. And for the first time in years, Denise straightened her shoulders, not as a victim, but as someone finally seen for who she truly was. Outside, Ross's shouts faded as the police car pulled away. Inside, the air felt different. Lighter. Cleaner. Harold sat back at his usual booth with a warm smile on his face, because justice had finally been served. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more powerful true stories.